Woodsy and Kdog are appearing on your screens. Oh, Woodsy and Kdog are a very good team. Oh, Woodsy and Kdog are not what they seem. 'Cause on Tuesdays we try to catch you unawares. Hello, 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 hello. Good evening and welcome to Series 5, Episode 2 of The Masked Cricketer, and your chance this week to hashtag Ask the Mask. I thought it was only right to view our most watched YouTube short, Bananas in Pyjamas. Sorry about that, guys. We've just put that back onto you for another time. But hope you enjoyed it. So welcome. And again, I've got a great show lined up for you tonight. And actually, one person of the three, Kdog, doesn't know who our masked cricketer is. So he'll be guessing along with you. He'll be hashtagging Ask the Mask as well. And I think he's quite excited by that. Aren't you, Kdog?
Pardon? I'm a bit deaf again. No. Yes, I'm very excited, but I can't believe I'm talking to a banana. But I suppose anything goes, really. Yeah, I don't know who this is going to be. Does that mean that Wes knows as well? So it's just me in the dark.
Just you in the dark, I'm afraid. Yeah, just you in the dark.
Very interesting. Yeah, you'll have to speak up tonight because I'm a bit sore on the old ears again. So if you see me pulling my ears, Wes, you've got to tell me off because I've been told by my doctor not to do it. Thanks, Paul. I have not got a Halloween mask on. I haven't had a shave today because I've been very busy. But yes, no, I'm very much looking forward to it. Is it a cricketer? That's my first question.
Well, you'll start the ball rolling tonight, Kdog, as you're in the dark. So you can ask some of the questions that I normally ask. So
I'm going to have to, aren't I? Can I have
you're in charge tonight. So
am I echoing, by the way? Is it all okay?
No, you're okay tonight. Actually, not too bad. And welcome, of course, to Statto Spearman. How you doing, Statto?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks. How are we all?
Did we actually enjoy the demolishing of the Indians this morning on the
very much so, yeah.
No, not at all.
That was an incredible game, wasn't it?
It was an incredible game. Well played, England, and well, we shall see if they've peaked before the final, but hopefully they can do the same against Pakistan on Sunday morning. Although the weather forecast on Mr. Doom and Gloom Kdog there is saying that it's not going to be on.
There's going to be an awful lot of that on Sunday.
Yes,
it's going to end up being a bowl out or a shared trophy, and that's the end of it. So how exciting! Sorry for being gloomy.
Yeah, typical. Right, I think without further ado, I'm going to make sure our masked cricketer is well and truly masked up, so we can't. Yeah, I think he's well and truly masked up. Actually, now I've looked at the screen, and Kieran, introduce our masked cricketer tonight, please.
Yeah, okay. I've got Trigger's broom in the background still. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a few watching. So, without further ado, and I have got no idea who it is. So, Daryl, a Woodsy, Banana Man, whatever you want to call yourself, bring on the masked cricketer.
Good evening. Kdog, over to you.
Right, I've got my big computer screen because my eyesight's not great. So let's have a look. So I've got to ask the first question. Have you ever played at Great and Little Chew Cricket Club? No. Sorry, freaks. No, they haven't. I can't even say he or she because I haven't got a clue. I'm going to start going down the line of: Are you a cricketer? First of all. Yeah, okay. That's a good start, Woodsy. That's a good start. I was thinking it might have been. I was thinking it might have been thinking outside the box a little bit.
Never know.
Okay. Have you ever played professional cricket? You have. Wes just sitting there, tight-lipped. I honestly haven't got a clue. That's a really good disguise because I can't see anything. I'm just trying to look on my screen. Okay, are you over 50? What are you laughing at? It's a good question.
That's a harsh question to go in early.
It's a good question. We need to know these things, you know.
We need to narrow it down. Narrow it down, yeah.
Right, so you're under 50 by process of elimination. Are you male, master cricketer? Are you a gentleman? You're a gentleman. Cool. Right. Are you still playing professional cricket? Oh, you are. Okay. It's really hard when you don't know who it is, actually, isn't it? This is quite interesting. George, hello, George. Yeah, I'm in the dark, same as you, George. Are you a bowler, master cricketer? Are you a bowler? Not a bowler. Okay. So, the next question. This is from Paul. Happy birthday for the other day, Paul. I think he's definitely over 50, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you therefore known for your batting, master cricketer? Yeah. Okay. Stop smiling, Wes. This is actually a lot harder. Oh my god. Right. Have you played first class cricket? Surprise, surprise. Woodsy's got another first class cricketer. Right, guys that are watching, you're going to have to help me because I haven't got a clue. Right, have you ever played cricket at any level for your country? Ooh, yes. Okay. Are you British? This isn't really helping though. All I know is it's a pro cricketer that played for his country. So, have you ever played for England? Then you've played for England. Oh, bugger. Oh. Right. Have you ever played in the 100? Well, that's helpful.
Maybe. Ah,
Maybe.
interesting.
Maybe played in the 100. What sort of answer is that? Oh, crikey. Have you ever played for Ireland? No. Have you ever played for Scotland? Hold on a minute. You played for your country and you haven't played for any of those. This is nightmare.
It's great seeing the pain on his face, Wes, isn't it?
Oh no.
Right, so you're a batter, you're a professional, you're British, you play for your country, but not England, Scotland, or Ireland. What? Have you ever played for Wales? Have Wales got a national team? They haven't, have they? No. No. Well, you're going to be under that mask for a hell of a long time.
We like that. We like keeping it under there as long as possible. You did ask the question, Kate. I'll just help you out a little bit. You asked the question of whether he played for his country at any level.
Oh, yes. So how would you... Okay.
The question you asked. So I'll just clarify that for you.
Thank you. I don't like not knowing. This is rubbish. It's much better when I know the answer.
It's quite funny watching you sweat over it. I must admit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if anybody's asking questions. Oh, I'll go to YouTube as well because I need to get both up, don't I? I've got the Facebook up, but I haven't got YouTube up. So I'm just trying to see if anybody else asking any questions.
Our YouTube channel scrolling down the bottom there, guys.
Yes.
Please subscribe.
My computer is very slow. Excuse me. Right. So are you currently contracted to a county side? You are. With Wes on the screen, I'm going to ask, are you contracted to Hampshire? I thought that might narrow it down slightly. Now, that doesn't really help me because I now have to go and search for all the Hampshire players. Right. Are you a left-handed bat? We don't want another one. There's already 2 on the screen.
Oh, boo hiss. No left-hander. That's not good. Not good.
What doesn't help is we haven't got Sam King watching tonight, and he always gets it right, doesn't he? So
yeah, he's a bit of a
right.
dodger.
Right. Okay, so Hampshire cricket. I'm cheating now. I'm going to search the squad. I haven't got a clue.
Let's go through the names of the squad.
Yeah, I'll go for every one. That's a good shout. Yeah. Come on, George. I know George is watching, so I want more questions from George here. Right. Okay. So, have you played for England at junior level? Or at any junior level? You have. Okay. Have you ever played against Oxfordshire in any competition? Okay. Have you ever played against Oxfordshire in the Jersey Festival? The answer's going to be no, isn't it? Have you? Oh, right. Are you Mason Crane? Oh, bollocks. Pardon my language. Oh, Mr. Claude, isn't it?
Don't worry, we've made this for kids. Kdog, it's not a problem.
Oh, my goodness. Have you ever captained Hampshire?
Good question.
No. So you're a right-handed bat. Oh, we've got loads of people watching. Come on, guys, get the questions in because I'm running out of questions. So you haven't. Oh, so you might have played in the 100. That's really doesn't help me really. Might have played in the 100. Wes, help me.
Yeah, go on, Wes. Help him out.
My computer's crashed. I can't even cheat.
Right. So you might have played in the 100. Have you been part of Birmingham Phoenix?
Oh.
No. Have you been part of London Spirit? I know a few Hampshire players have gone there.
It's not going to help me because I don't watch the blooming 100, do I?
No, you don't. Have you ever been part of the Southern Brave squad? Yes, Southern Brave. It's tricky to think of questions that haven't already been asked. I'm sure. You know what? You haven't asked the usual early question. Have you ever played in the Cherwell League?
Yeah, good.
Oh, that's a good one. No, I haven't. No, probably what the league is.
Have you ever played in the OCA League? Probably not, I assume. No, not a clue what those are.
The wonderful OCA. The wonderful OCA. Right. I can't even look on my computer because it's just crashed. I can't even look through the squad of Hampshire players. So this could be a long night now. So who plays for Hampshire? I know. Are you Liam Dawson? He plays for Hampshire, doesn't he? Oh. Not Mason Crane, not Liam Dawson.
He's asleep at the moment, I reckon. In Australia.
Oh, yeah, he might be. Yeah, that's a good point. He might be. You're not James Vince because you haven't captained. I've just asked that, Paul. Listen, Paul's just said, are you Liam Dawson? No, Paul is not Liam Dawson. Oh, this is hard. God. Who does Wes always bang on about in the 100? Let's think.
Have you ever played for any other county other than Hampshire?
You have.
Did you play for Kent? That's not going to help you any way,
That's not
shape,
gonna
or
help
form,
Kieran.
Kane.
No, because before you asked that question, I was going to ask if it was Tom Prest, but Tom Prest hasn't played for Kent, has he? So you're not Tom Prest, are you? Because you played against Oxfordshire. Oh, right. Okay.
That's a great guess that's just come in.
Let's have a look. Is it a good guess? Is it the right guess?
It is a very good guess.
Right. Okay. Are you Toby Albert? No.
You thought that was going to be it, Kdog, didn't you?
Well, then, Wes says it's a good guess, yeah. But I don't know. I'm supposed to know all about cricket. I don't know who's played for Kent and
I'll tell
Hampshire.
you what, look, we're about 16 minutes in, and
We're going to be beating
under a snood,
fingers
it's going to be very hot and sweaty. I think we should ask Statto to ask the question of who might well be under the mast tonight.
It surprised me after all these guesses we got relatively close, I think. But
my computer's just come back. My computer's just come back up, so I'm going to ask one more.
Oh, he's going to ask one more. Oh, drum roll, please.
I'm going to find a batter. I'm just going to find any batter. I'm going to say, because my computer's just come up, are you? I don't know how to pronounce the first name. And I know you're in Donald. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong, but. Thanks to my computer. Is it?
Go on, one more guess, Kdog. We're going to give you one more guess.
Oh, is it not him then?
Oh, he's removed the cap.
Nick Gubbins. I'm just looking through all the squad names now. James Fuller. No, that was last week.
No, Wes. Please put him out of his misery. If he's going alphabetical order, we could be
Ben Brown from Paul Fowler. No.
Wes, unmask the mask, please.
Yeah, but before we get to go through all the squad, because you might be waiting quite a while. There it is. Someone's just got it. Someone's just come in. Paul Fowler. Are you master cricketer, Hampshire opening batter, and all-round good fella, Joe Weatherley?
Well, no wonder I didn't get it. No wonder I didn't get it, because it's in alphabetical order on your website. You would be one of the last people I'd have spoken about. I thought it was in batting order.
If I'd fainted from heat exhaustion, I was going to blame you.
Sorry. If your website had the team in batting order, I'd have got you really early. But you're like third from the end.
I love it. That is a first for our masked cricketer programs. We've never had one like that before. So sorry to keep you under there so long, Joe. I hope you're well. Thanks for coming on tonight. It's brilliant of you, and I think we're going to have a bit of fun in the next 45 minutes or so. I'm assuming are you back in training now? Are you back in full flow?
I wouldn't say full flow. So we have October off, and then November tends to be quite optional. So we did fitness testing last week, which is sadly not optional. And then, depending on sort of how you did, you'll pick up your fitness stuff either individually or back in at the ground. And then all skills are optional. Lots of guys are back in because they're heading abroad imminently, either domestically or there's a few franchise leagues starting up next month. So yeah, quite a few of the guys in, but it's still quite chill because it is only November.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going on from that, I mean, when you get into the full swing, what's your sort of what's your preferred route of training? Is it something you have to follow, or is it you can have your own plan? What do you like to do, and what do you have to do?
So when you turn professionally, they put the ownership on you quite heavily, particularly before Christmas. If you were to stay at home in the off season, and a lot of the training before Christmas is mainly fitness based, and any skills that you do is sort of up to you. And then the turn of the new year, it really ramps up, and the coaches have ownership of the program, and they put us through our paces that leads into pre-season, which we typically go away in March, and then it comes around before you know it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. It's hard times, I'm sure, putting you through your paces. I wanted to go back to when you started and what your inspirations were for cricket and how you got into the game initially. And then I wanted just to progress that, because you're a local boy born in Winchester. Great place to live, by the way. I love it in Winchester. Great area. What was it like coming through the Hampshire youth player pathway to get to a first class debut? So over to you, Joe.
So I took up the game when I was about 8 years old. So I was born in '97. So the 2005 Ashes was sort of perfectly timed to inspire sort of me into the game. And mentioned Mason Crane in some of the guesses. He's sort of my good mate. We're the same age, and he was his role model was Shane Warne from the 2005 Ashes, and we're sort of the same age and come through the Hampshire system together. Although he was Sussex born and bred, he came to Hampshire quite soon after sort of he got into the game. So I joined my local cricket club, St Cross, in Winchester, and quickly sort of came into the Hampshire pathway from 9, and then came through under 9s to under 17s, and then joined the academy, sort of stereotypically sort of homegrown age groups academy. And then, you break into the second team. And then I was awarded a professional contract when I finished my A-levels when I was 18. And that was 7 years ago now. So it's flown by. Can just about hold on to being a young player maybe, but not for much longer. But I've loved the journey that I've been on with Hampshire. And it's there's not many of us homegrown players anymore. I think, Chris Woods is still playing, James Vinsley and Dawson, although they were from Wiltshire or minor counties around it. There aren't many of us Hampshire born and Hampshire bred academy players. So it's a real honour, and one that I cherish.
Yeah, rightly so. It's the first. I think you're the first player on that has actually done that, gone through, the youth pathway and end up in first class. So that's unique, and it doesn't happen. A lot of our youngsters, obviously, because of being a national county, they've got to move on if they want to play first class, of course. But and we've had a few of those. So that's good. I mean, what were your coaches like going through the pathway? Was there anyone there that really sort of worked with you, and you felt that you were getting some good time with them?
Yeah, I mean, lucky enough to have a load of great coaches. I'd say the one that has helped me the most or spent the most time with me is Tony Middleton, former Hampshire sort of player and was academy director. Not quite when I was coming through, but before I was coming through, and has always been pivotal in the club. And I think he's been at the club ever since he was a player. He's never present. And if you ask me who's had the greatest impact on my career to date, it would be Tony. He's old enough now that his lad's coming through, Fletcher. He's part of the professional staff. But Tony's been great with me. It's really nice having someone that sort of knows you so well. Sort of first got to know Tone, and we got to know each other about 14. So he's seen me sort of grow into second team, academy, and professional cricket. So when I sort of veer off the straight and narrow in the summer of the pro game, I can go back to Uncle Tone's, and he can often pick me up, which is great.
Did you always feel at that time through the pathway that you would make it into first class? Was that something you wanted to do?
Guess. Definitely. I wanted to do. I played tennis to quite a high level, a similar level for a long period, and then I gave that up. My dad was a tennis player, so I sort of had that pressure to sort of negotiate. Not that it was pressurized. And then I guess 14, 15 really chose cricket, but you never really know if you're going to make it. Yes, of course, I aimed to, and I was part of the England 17s and 19s, so I guess I was on the right track. But at the time, you don't really know that. I guess people say nice things and say that you're talented and stuff, but it's still really difficult to make it. Don't get me wrong, but I look back at those years really fondly, and getting my professional contract when I left school was a dream come true for sure.
before I hand over to either Kdog or Statto, what was that like? Your first class debut. What was the feeling of getting your cap, and what happened on the day? How did you do?
Well, there's sort of two debuts. My first class debut was against the university, which, if I'm being brutally honest, Dale Benkenstein was coach, and we'd had a load of pre-season games where he played the first team. I was only 17, 18, where he played the first team, and the university game was the penultimate game leading up to the championship game. And we basically put out the kids, and that was how I got my first class debut. So it was a weak team at the time, but that was how I got. That was my first class debut, and I think I got a few runs, which was nice. But my first championship game is the story to sort of tell. Was away at Radler against Middlesex, and it was James Tomlinson's final game and my first county championship game, and we lost by an innings to Middlesex. James Fuller actually got 5 wickets in the game, and we came away from the game having been spanked by an innings with, I think, -2 points, because we didn't get a batting point. I think we got 1 bowling point, and our over rate was so bad that we came away negative from the game. So my championship debut, we would have been better off not playing it than playing it and get -2. So not particularly fond memories from that one.
Oh, brilliant! I mean, they're great stories, actually, aren't they? To be fair, thanks for sharing that. That's brilliant. Kdog, I'm going to go over to you. I'm sure you got some questions for this young man, and I'll pass over to you.
Well, firstly, I wanted to say a little bit of quick research. I think you might have opened the batting at Bunbury with the current Oxford Downs first team captain, Tom Costley, who outscored you by 85 to 21. I just know that. I just happen to know that because I'm the font of all knowledge. I'm not looking at the ECB website at all, I promise. But you played with Tom Costley at Bunbury. I mean, Bunbury's a great experience. I think actually it's probably quite timely just to say our thoughts with David English at the moment, actually, because obviously he's very unwell at the moment. But Bunbury Festival, the Under-15 Schools Festival, we've seen a lot of Oxfordshire players go into that over the years. It's a fantastic tournament, isn't it? It's some of the players that have come through Bunbury, and have gone on to great things. What were your sort of thoughts and memories of that? And you can talk about Tom Costley all you like as well if you want to.
Oh, absolutely. Well, firstly, I'd join you. I mean, David English, just an amazing fella, someone that, we remember having played in the festival. I played in 10 years ago, actually, 2012 at Repton. And even back then, he was just ever present. And there were so many first class and England cricketers when I did my Bunbury that had gone before me. So, 10 years on that, his energy, enthusiasm for the week, the kids, cricket, we wouldn't have the domestic game that we do without David. So absolutely, thinking of him in the last week or so. Great memories. It was a stunning week in Repton, and it was sort of the first sort of, I don't know, step in the journey of being a professional cricketer. You sort of have your age group stuff, and it's the first sort of representative level. You get the first chance to see people from other regions, the north, that you just would never normally play against at anything before under-15s, and a real sort of mark in the ground that this is what's to come. And they picked the England squad from that. I remember, so that was always an anxious time, and people were sort of looking at that a little bit. I remember Tom being about the size of a house. He was about twice the size of like our little wicket keeper and one of the spinners, Mason being one of them. But no, he was. I think he was our opening fast bowler, and I think he had a good week. I haven't seen Tom for a while, and I'd love to catch up with him. But definitely fond memories of that week. Definitely.
Yeah, no, he's not actually quite the size he was. He's trimmed up a bit, but he's still doing really well for Oxford Downs. He's the first team captain, actually, and I don't say very many nice things about Tom, apart from the fact I keep taking the mickey that he's my cousin, but he's not. It's just that his mum happens to be a was a Bushnell. So I reckon there's some relation there. So yeah, that's quite an interesting sort of small world moment there, just sort of to point that one out. And you talk about Bunbury. Like you say, there's been some amazing players that have gone on to represent England. I think of Mark Ramprakash, Flintoff for two for a start. It really is, like you say, it's like the first real opportunity, isn't it, where you sort of almost get that feeling of playing in a professional sort of environment.
Definitely, and I can only talk of my age group and the sort of ECB stuff that followed that, but in that Bunbury or around my age, Sam Curran, Hasipa Mead, Saki Mahmood, Matt Parkinson, Don Bess, Mason Crane, oodles that have played first-class cricket, let alone for England and at a young age. So maybe a particularly strong year. I guess you have years that are maybe stronger than others. But no, all of those guys. And also what's nice is that you catch up with those guys in the season. When you're playing against Lancashire, for example, it's really nice to go for dinner with those guys who you remember as that 15-year-old kid from Bunbury, and actually it's England's Saqib Mahmood, and it's funny how it changes, but friendships for life for sure.
No, absolutely is. And did you actually just it's just a personal thing for me? Did you ever go to the Jersey Festival? Did you play against Oxfordshire? Because Oxfordshire always beat Hampshire, by the way. We had a really good record against it. Apart from once where it was a tie, we beat you every time, to say it.
I think I went once or twice. I'll be deadly honest. I remember it less well than Bunbury.
Not surprised.
I think I did go once or twice. I think it rained quite a lot.
Yeah, it would have rained. It would have definitely rained.
Still a good trip. But, I definitely played against Oxfordshire quite a few times before that at a younger level, as you do in the Hampshire age groups. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it certainly would have rained, because pretty much every year we went, with the exception of 1 year, it pretty much poured down every single day of the festival. It became a bit of a running joke, really, that you could guarantee that was going to happen. So we've got some questions coming in, and then I'll hand over to Statto. So Terry Maycock is watching us from down under in Melbourne at the moment. Hello, Terry. He emigrated to Australia 11 years ago. We don't want him back. He's staying over there now. He wants to know, who do you think is the most talented player currently on the county circuit? That's a really tough question. I suppose you could break it down into the most talented batter and the most talented bowler. So maybe the players that you've seen, that you've played against, that you think have got the potential to go further.
There are definitely some talented players. The first name that comes into my head, and it's biased, is James Vince, from a sort of senior. Not a young player coming through, but how Vincey hasn't played more at international level is, just such a shock to us in the dressing room. We see his brilliance on a day-to-day level, so I think he's still definitely got more to offer in the global game. Younger players, Harry Brook is a stunning player. Seen him in the last year or two. He across formats. I know he hasn't had the best World Cups, but he did well in Pakistan and in the 100. He's a really good player. There's a couple of young batters that you need to keep an eye on. One is Tom Prest at Hampshire. He's only 19 and he's sort of broken into our T20 team and had success. I mean, I just think about where I was at 19 and I was nowhere near ready to play T20 first team cricket. Like, the pressure and the fans at that age, it is something special. And his mate Jacob Bethel in the under-19s at Warwickshire, they're sort of similar age and similar players. He's at Warwickshire, and those two will definitely be names to look out for in the short and mid-term for sure.
Yeah, Tom Press is a really interesting one, because Darren and I coached our Oxfordshire under-18s down in Hampshire last year. We got an absolute shellacking. Lost by an innings and 200, and Tom Prest was actually not picked for that one. He'd scored a treble 100 for the seconds the week before, and he'd played every other game in the 18s. And Woodsy and myself were going down there with not the strongest side we could have possibly put out. We were a little bit short of players, a few injuries, and we were a little bit worried that Tom Prest might turn out. He didn't. We lost by an innings and 200. I think if he'd have played, we'd have probably lost by an innings and 1,000, Darryl, wouldn't we? Probably.
Probably decent side coming through at Hampshire. One of the best sides I'd seen at that level for a long time. So yeah, encouraging.
We'll come back to the question from Paul Fowler about any stories about Tom Costley towards the end. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are, because I know a lot of stories about Tom Costley and how he behaves exemplary all the time. Statto, over to you for some more questions, and I'll start digging out some questions that are coming through.
I know you mentioned obviously Tony helping you quite a bit, and something I've noticed with your game is a slightly different setup between sort of red ball and white ball cricket. Is there any sort of thoughts behind that, and potentially any tips for younger cricketers on sort of setting up differently in different formats?
Yeah, definitely. Without sort of laying it on too thick, the games are just getting so far apart. They're almost like different sports at the moment. So to play in both is something that I want to keep doing and to succeed in, but it's getting increasingly difficult because the white ball game is just moving on at a pace, and then opening the batting in April and September is challenging, to say the least. No, I'd still say that the fundamental of cricket is red ball cricket, and that's how any child should have set their grounding in the game. Whilst maybe getting into the sport is whacking it and watching white ball cricket, I still think to be any good, to make it at a pro level, you need those basics, fundamentals of batting and defence and stuff. The boring traditional but great stuff for cricket nuffies like us. And then in white ball cricket at the moment, it's just about expressing yourself. And we saw this morning, the England guys just going out and being fearless, and the ceiling seems to be moving at a pace, and it's sort of our job at a domestic level to sort of keep striving to see how far we can push that. Obviously underneath the international team, but yeah, it's changing at a pace, and it's scary to think where it will be in 5 years' time. But yeah, I mean, any form of cricket that gets a child into it is great, and I would roll with that if I were them, and just keep enjoying it. Yeah.
And just on white ball cricket, a hugely successful season at Hampshire, winning the Blast for the first time in 10 years, albeit in slightly unconventional fashion at Edgbaston. Just talk us through those dire moments of the game, and what were the emotions out on the field?
God, it's like an out-of-body experience thinking back to that day. I'll remember the first time we won it, that was then a no ball, and looking back round to see the fireworks go off, and looking back to the umpire and his arm outstretched with it being a no ball. I'll remember that moment, I think, for the rest of my life, because that first huddle when we thought we'd won it and we were singing Championes was just so special. And then it was just pure anxiety and worry for the next 10 minutes, because it's like, we've lost this, we must have lost it, we'd won it, and there's no way we can do this. And then credit to Vincey, talk about him as a batter, but as a captain, he got us in to the huddle for that last ball and just said, look lads, this is what's happened, this is the situation, this is what we need to do. Calm, Nathan Ellis is going to execute, and do your job. And then we won again, and they had backup fireworks, and it was just crazy. And we had a good night, as you know, Wes. And yeah, fond memories. And I'm honoured that I've already won 2 trophies. I mean, some guys don't win a trophy in their career, and to win 2 by my age is great. I've just looking in my sitting room now, I've got a framed shirt, stump, medal, and pictures from that day, all in a big plaque, which is going up on my wall. So I can take that wherever I go, which is good memories.
Yeah, and I suppose that the whole sort of Blast season was sort of culminated in that day, but it didn't get off to the best of starts, let's say. 4 defeats on the trot, and then what was the sort of messages from sort of Vincey and AD, sort of just try and get back on what was eventually a winning run?
Yeah, well, anyone that follows Hampshire knows that we don't do things straight, in a straightforward way, and we keep the fans on their toes, and it's exciting to follow. We were terrible; we couldn't get any worse. So it was more a real sort of slap up the bum, and we knew we were a good side. We got to finals day the year before. Not much had changed. If anything, the team had got stronger. So if anything, it was a case of, I guess, going back to basics. I remember our analyst Joe Maiden put a motivational video before that 5th game after we'd lost the 4 of guys hitting boundaries, guys taking wickets, and just showing really good vibes and good energy. And that was one of the things that kickstarted us into a winning run. And then when you hit the knockouts with momentum, I think it's one of the strongest things you can do. I mean, I know on a smaller scale, England losing to Ireland in this World Cup, if you get on a run, it's a dangerous place to be in knockout cricket. So that's where we were. But yeah, we'll be doing anything we can to start a bit better next year, that's for sure.
And there's one thing I mentioned sort of about setup earlier, and especially yourself in white ball, your slog sweep seems to be a sort of a go-to shot, if you like. And sort of what are you looking for? And is there any sort of reason why that's just become more of sort of your go-to, if you like?
Yeah, so I guess growing up, I was never a big hitter. I really struggled with sort of power hitting and hitting sixes, and I developed it essentially because it was a way of using the pace of the ball to get it over fine leg like a scoop. And I guess I just practiced it, and now it's something that comes naturally to me, and I guess I have no fear with it, and happy to practice it and play it in matches. And then hopefully over time, or that power has come a little bit more. So I've sort of hopefully got the game to hit sixes, but also still got that shot where maybe I didn't have the power before, of sort of shoveling it and helping it on its way over fine leg rather than cow corner. So that's sort of where it's come from. And yeah, it's a shot I enjoy playing, sure.
And just moving away from white ball onto the red ball stuff. Obviously, 3rd in the championship this season. I mean, hopefully go not 1 but 2 better next year. But going back to that first game of the season against Somerset, a career best score in the first game of the season in cold, damp April. Do you think that's probably the best you've ever played, do you reckon?
Probably in that format, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've got such a strong championship side as our team. You know, our batting job is to basically get enough runs that our excellent trio of fast bowlers to bowl them out. You know, our fast bowlers are so potent. I think they were the 3 leading wicket takers in Division 1. So, you know, our job as batters is to get, you know, more than enough runs for them to sort of do their thing, if you like. But yeah, no, fond memories from that week. But we had so many special moments across the year in both forms, but particularly championship cricket. And it's a real mission of ours to win the county championship. And you know, we were within 1 ball in 2021, and then we fell a little bit short in September this year, which was bitterly disappointing. But it's still our sole focus. We haven't won it since 1973, which is not something we should be particularly proud of as a club. But we've got the team at the moment to deliver, and we keep saying that if we're there and thereabouts, like we were in the T20, that soon enough we'll get over the line and deliver a county championship. That would be amazing.
And I think just last one for me before I'm back to the other two. And so many highlights from a Hampshire perspective this year. Obviously, winning the Blast is one, a career best, another, and that win against Northamptonshire, and with what was literally the last ball of the game as well. And one of my personal favourites. But if you could pick one moment from this year, what would it be?
Yeah, good question. The obvious one would be finals day, but that's sort of a given, I guess. I really enjoyed the quarter final. I don't know if many people remember, but I think Birmingham or Warwickshire had come top of their group, and we'd just qualified in 4th, so we were sort of playing away, going to the top of the North group, and we were playing Edgbaston away, and we just had everything went to plan. We got over 200 with the bat, and I think we won by about 120 runs or something. And all of our analysis, all of our data, just everything from start to finish just went absolutely perfectly. And it was a perfect dress rehearsal for finals day, because it was a week or 2 before finals day. We were staying in sort of same hotel, and everything just went brilliantly. So finals day is the obvious one. There were numerous championship wins that were all fantastic, but the thing with the championship is no one win always sticks out. It's a campaign, and it's a journey, and you know, you get to September and April feels like an absolute age ago, but still special. Yeah.
Thanks, Statto. I'm really interested in a couple of things you mentioned there, and wanted to touch on. I mean, friendships from Bunbury. We just started. I mentioned, before we came on air, that we have started our assessment process here in Oxfordshire, and my actual speech at the beginning, bit of getting them active, was, please be yourself, but also, this is where you get friendships. I went through an under 15, millions of years ago, and I've still got sort of 5 friends that I'm still either playing against or playing with, and those friendships last for a long time. They're so important, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you ask me, I guess, why I play the game, or if you were to ask me probably when I finish my career, those are the moments, having a beer in the changing room after a win or loss, and the journey that you go through with teammates from Bunbury, with age group teammates, with under 19 teammates. That, yeah, no, absolutely, definitely, and it's a real special thing, the Bunbury and the age group, because you've known each other for a long time, and things change. Some people don't play first class cricket and they're working in recruitment. Some are playing for England, and yet it's still the same person that you knew, however many years ago, and you can still catch up for food. So it's fantastic, and that is why we play. Yeah.
I love it that you're going out to dinner with an opposing player. I used to be terrible. I used to turn up, I know the opposition, and then not speak to them because they are the enemy for me.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I still cop it if I was to go out for dinner with one of the opposition from our lads, but it's quite common. It's quite common. Yeah.
Great stuff.
I wouldn't want to go out for dinner with you. I wouldn't want to go out for dinner with you, Woodsy. You're miserable son.
I just really love that, though. I just think that just encompasses our game quite well. I think it's brilliant, and friendships are forged for life. They really are. The other thing I wanted to just touch on, and I don't know whether this happens or not, the psychology of the game, especially in that final when you'd won and hadn't won and stuff like that. Do you have sessions at the first team that sort of prepare you for those sort of things? Is that something that's done through a winter program, or is it done sort of ad hoc?
We have sports psychologists. Yeah, we've got 2 sports psychologists that work with the club. It's probably more on a one-to-one level through the season. We have so many challenges that are thrown at us through the season. The schedule is brutal. So often you have low periods, or when you're out of form or returning from injury, and we use them particularly probably in those moments where regaining confidence, or just little tips, I guess, to help your game. In terms of those bigger pressure moments, and particularly finals day, I don't think there's anything that really prepares you for that. And I think over time, when you play in front of crowds and you play in more pressure situations, you get better at dealing with it. But finals day, for example, is so unique. That I don't think I've ever seen that happen in a game. Probably won't again. So it's I don't think anything can compare. But we are paid to be professional cricketers and to execute when it matters most. So that's part of our job, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Absolutely. No, really interesting. I think I was going to say about the crowds, because I haven't been to the GS Bowl for some time, but I always felt that it was, the crowd are with you, aren't they? It's quite, they are quite close to the action. Is the atmosphere there on a full packed stadium pretty decent?
Yeah, it's good. It definitely is good. I noticed it being part of the Southern Brave. It was probably one of the best atmospheres of the 100 at the GS Bowl. Obviously, with the franchise-based city competitions, you'd go to Manchester or Birmingham or London, where it was quite young or corporate, or people going to drink. Or whereas the GS Bowl, probably because of the area, was a real family feel. And that generated a really nice feel and a lot of noise, and there were a lot of kids and families, and it was noticeably one of the better atmospheres around the 100. So, plus when you add in, for me, being homegrown and it's my home ground, it's extra special. So it's funny when you see familiar faces in the crowd that you, again, might not have seen for years, or they know you, and it's nice playing at home for sure.
Brilliant. I'm just doing my normal sort of selling. It's down there in our Just Giving page. We're always doing the Masked Cricketer for obviously the Lord's Taverners for disadvantaged and disabled children across the country. So if you can dig deep and make a donation, you can do it. Is there at our Just Giving page. Just search the Masked Cricketer and make a donation if you can, and any donation will be greatly received. One question from me before I hand back to Kdog. So I know there's some questions coming in on the comments, so that's good. I'm just going to take you back to the England under-19s and England under-17 call-up. I think I'm right in saying you were captain of the under-19s. What was it like getting that phone call or face-to-face? I don't know what it would be, and being asked to skipper. What was that like for you?
Oh yeah, surreal. You know, the best bit for me was when you get your England kit, and it's the first time that you've been involved in that sort of thing before. So when you're that sort of age, and not that I'm any less impressionable with kit anymore, but you just having the 3 lines on your chest is just very surreal and very special. I got my cap presented to me by Graham Hick at the Wacker against Australia in a test match, which was, I've still got that picture now, which is something I'll look back on very fondly. But no, special times, and just being involved in that setup at Loughborough with elite coaches. We have Michael Vaughan, Ian Bell, people coming in to do masterclass is something that was completely unrivaled at a county setup. That sort of resources and expertise that we benefited from us with the 19 stuff is, I think, a big part. When I was involved, the budget toward under 19s, the resources that they have was as much as it's ever been. And I mentioned the guys that have come through and played for England. I don't think there's any coincidence that those guys have come through, because the resources were such at the time. We went all across the world to Dubai, Sri Lanka, Australia, you name it. We went there, and I don't think it's as much now, but we certainly benefited from it for sure.
Brilliant. No, and an honour, isn't it? Absolute honour. So fair play to you, Joe. It's been really last time I was on, James Fuller had a mask on, so he couldn't see me smiling and sort of going along. I did say to him at one point, I am with you, because I love some of the comments coming back. So at least you can actually see the face tonight. Albeit through a banana skin. But I'm going to go over to Kdog, and I'm sure you've got some questions coming in on the screen. I'll come back in a few minutes.
I can guarantee that Joe's probably never ever been interviewed by a banana before. So yeah, he's very strange, Joe. Just leave it there. Yeah, we have had a few questions coming through whilst you've been talking to Daryl and to Wes. I'm going to pair these 2 questions up because they're pretty similar. I think you've kind of touched on it already, but we'll get a sort of a direct answer, I guess. So Paul and Terry, they both pretty much asking the same question. So Paul says, what's your favourite format to play? Terry says, do you see the longer format as the pinnacle? So that's kind of 2 different questions, really. So what's your favourite format, and do you see the championship, the longer form, still as the pinnacle? I think you've kind of touched on that, but what's your response to that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there are sort of dimensions to it. So what do I see the pinnacle? I definitely see the pinnacle as Test cricket, and County Championship probably is the priority in our domestic season. And it's a fact, it's the greatest test for us. It is a lot harder to succeed in that format than any other format. So from a rewarding and fulfilling point of view, there's no doubt that the longer format is the best in that way. Having said that, it's a hell of a lot of fun playing in front of good crowds. It's entertaining, playing in the shorter form, and I genuinely love both. And yeah, I don't think we should necessarily fight the fact that the longer form is great, and it's for cricket nuffies like us. And there's also that element of the T20 getting other potentially women, kids, whoever, new people into the game, and I don't think we should necessarily fight that. That's that's fine as long as we protect the longer form potentially from the revenue that's being made in T20 stuff. Then fine, but as a player, love both and enjoy playing both for sure.
Yeah. No, brilliant. And lest we forget, of course, we are the current 50 over world champions, and by Sunday we could have both in the bag. So, yes, I'm with you. I love Test cricket. I mean, the very fact that it's Test cricket, it is meant to be a test, but I do love 50 over. I quite like 20 over. I'm being slowly won around by Statto to the 100, but that's taken a bit of time. But Charlotte Edwards did say that she was going to invite me to the Aegeus Bowl for one of the 100 double headers last year. I didn't take her up on that, but maybe next year, possibly Statto. I might possibly come down for one, as it's relatively close. Southampton, it's not too far away. So yeah, no, that's a really good answer. Another really good question, actually. This was something that I was going to ask you as well. And the reason I was going to ask was because I wanted to sort of try and impart some of your knowledge as an opening batsman to some of our young cricketers coming through. Because, as Daryl said, we've just started our coaching for the winter. As an opening batsman, do you have a specific routine that you sort of go through to prepare yourself when you go out to bat? Because I always find that as an opening batsman, particularly, you're there to be got out pretty quickly, aren't you? It's the hardest job, I think. Daryl will probably agree with this because he used to be an opening batsman. Opening the batter against the new ball, it is the toughest job, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Particularly the time of year that we play our 4-day cricket over the last few years. Yeah, but it's kind of like Test cricket. It's also the most rewarding, when you bat a day as an opening batter or even if you don't, even if you block out the new ball for 20 overs and set your team up, and get the ball softer for the stroke makers later down the order, that's also rewarding. It's rewarding in a different way. You're not man of the match by any stretch and you haven't scored 100, but it's your job for the team. Just like new ball bowlers is their job to take wickets with the new ball, it's our job to, I guess, see off the new ball. In terms of my prep, definitely you'd be going in blind if you sort of did things differently every time, or there are so many times where in a 4-day game you're under pressure. A team might have scored 500 declared and you have to run off and face 6 overs that night when you're tired and you've been in the field for 5 sessions, and then everyone else has got their feet up and they go well, Joe, good luck, mate, and they've just put their feet up and you're strapping them on with dirty whites and facing the new ball against a sort of jovial sort of opposition. So it's definitely tough. I've always done it, so I've sort of got it in my blood, but I enjoy it. It's bloody tough, but I really enjoy it. Yeah.
And do you take one or do you take two? Because another question that I'm often asked is, don't want to face the first ball because it'd be terrible to get out first ball, but what's your opinion on that?
I take one because I've always taken one because my theory in age group cricket was when you're playing kids cricket, it would often be a really bad ball. Because it would be a looser. Yeah. So I would take one, and regardless of the fact that it was a good or bad ball, I've got used to taking one. So it's a little more daunting facing the first ball of a county championship match than Oxfordshire under 11s, but it's the same theory.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew Daryl would like the answer to that question. I did. I mean, Daryl doesn't like me talking about myself because I'm rubbish at cricket. I did take two once to Statto's dad, first game of the season, and his dad ran me out without facing, so I didn't face the ball anyway. That's not neither here nor there. No, that's exactly what I know. Daryl always says exactly that actually get out there and face the first ball, because, like you say, you're going to be very unlucky if it's an absolutely rip snorting in swinging Yorker onto a middle stump first ball up, aren't you?
Yep, absolutely, and it could happen if you're facing, the first ball, the second over at the non-striker's end. So, yeah,
exactly. I've just brought back to you, Daryl. Terry's come back to say, just before I hand back to you, thanks for the readouts, Kieran. By the way, it's going to be cold and wet on Sunday for the final.
Great. No, I'm totally with you on facing first ball, Joe. That is an absolute given. I always think you're unlikely to get a Jaffa first ball when they're loosening up. So I've still had a few golden ducks, but we all do, don't we, from time to time?
Yeah, so have I.
And Joe, his club have got this brilliant thing. So they've obviously got the honours board in the clubhouse, which is fantastic. one of the only clubs that I think that I know that do this. They've got an honours board by the gents urinals where if they get a golden duck, they've got to buy a plaque, and there's loads of golden ducks all over the urinals. I think Daryl's up there 2 or 3 times. Daryl, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I might be up there 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Look, this has been really engaging. We're on the hour mark, Joe. It's been really entertaining, and I've really enjoyed listening to your stories on cricket. I want to go into the 100 and your experiences of the 100 with the Southern Brave, and I know you're happy to talk about this as we mentioned it off air. You obviously were not struggling to get in the side, but you didn't figure in the side. How was that for you? And what do you think overall of the 100 anyway?
Well, it was my first taste of the 100. I wasn't involved with it in the first year, so I was gagging to get involved because the first year was great. It captured the imagination of so many people. I had mates that don't like cricket at all that were asking about the 100 and were going to games. So that was great. So to be involved this year was fantastic. And to be quite honest, to be involved was great, and I would have taken that. To get game time would have been fantastic, and yeah, it was extremely frustrating not to have played, but hopefully in good time that will come. But just being in the environment with Mahela Jayawardene was the coach, Tymal Mills, Quinton de Cox, Marcus Stoinis, quality players and players that I wouldn't normally be surrounded with at a domestic level. So it's sort of that next level up, I guess, and for domestic players' development and improvement to be involved in those kind of tournaments, it's like the stepping stone to international cricket. So for someone like me, it's fantastic just to get a glimpse of that sort of level above. And it's a really fun month to be a part of for us. It's something different. We're away from, although I'm with the Southern Brave, you're away from Hampshire, as it were. You're away from your domestic, and it comes at a time of the year where you're starting to flag. It's started to be a long summer, and it's August, and it's just fresh, and it rejuvenates you for the month to come. But yeah, it's great to see so many kids involved with the games. All the games are sold out, and it's just fantastic to be a part of. So I hope I've sold it to Kdog, but yeah, if I haven't, then I've still got some work to do.
He is struggling on that a little bit. I mean, I got to be honest. I go to one at least one. I'm trying to go down to different grounds, and I've been to Headingley and Trent Bridge because I haven't been to those two previously, and it's been good fun. And in fairness, the cricket that I've seen hasn't been of the best quality of the 2 times I've been. Unfortunately, in fact, the women's games have been a little bit closer, a little bit more exciting. But the whole day, for the amount of money you spend, it's good entertainment, and it's a great atmosphere, isn't it?
It's brilliant, and it's not to everyone's taste, but you get the live DJ in every ground, and you get the women's. I think the women's probably more than the men's, as you say, Woodsy. They love it. They go mad for it. Certainly the Southern Brave. The fans. We obviously often play after them, and we watch some of the women's game, and after they have played, they'll do a little lap, and they go absolutely mental for the women's game. So whatever you think of the 100, it's been an absolute massive tick for the women's game, and I think you've seen that with the increased revenue that the ECB are putting towards it, and it's getting more girls in, and more girls can be professional cricketers and getting paid through cricket, and I think it will go from strength to strength for the next few years, without doubt.
Yeah, I think it will have to, won't it, in some respects, but it'll be interesting to see if they change anything of it, or what they might do over the next year or two, just to make it more out there, if it can be. So it will be interesting to see. The other thing I was going to say to you on the cricketing terms, obviously the county championship, and we've all said that we probably do prefer the longer format. There's obviously some review going on or other. How would you like to see county championship play? Do you want your 10 games, 14 games, more games, less games? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's difficult. We definitely play too much cricket, and that's coming from a cricket fan, not as a player. We play too much, and I think the quality is probably affected because we play so much, and it's people don't necessarily acknowledge the travel in between games, which the fan might think is a day off, but we're traveling, sometimes halfway across the country, and then maybe having a 2-day gap between 4-day games. The start of the year, there's 8 back-to-back 4-day games, which is just crazy, really. And I just think more is not always better, and I think a slight reduction would mean better quality cricket, and help everyone. But I'm also aware that Andy Strauss's high performance review is sort of aimed at it's high performance, right? It's helping the England team, and you've got to get that past the counties, who are completely different, and have completely different missions and objectives to maybe England, or from a high performance point of view. So I wouldn't say 10 games is right, because you always have games affected with the weather, but potentially a slight reduction to 12 or 14, but you sort of jiggle with some of the one-day cricket, or just give us the time to prepare, play, rest, and rinse and repeat that sort of schedule. And I think the quality of cricket will go up, play on better pitches, and county cricketers will be better prepared to play international cricket, I think.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you on that, actually, Joe. To be fair, one thing I forgot to ask, actually, about the 100. Obviously, you mentioned some of the players that were playing for Southern Brave. I remember James Fuller saying he got a bit giddy because he was playing with somebody. He just wanted to speak to them and get all the information from them, and really sort of test their knowledge and try and learn from them. Were you a bit like that as well, or were you a little?
It's a really difficult one, because for people like James and I, we're sort of not at the bottom of the pecking order, but you've got big international stars, and you're wanting to be quite cool and get to know that you don't know them at all, but you want to sort of play it cool, but you really want to ask them this, that, and the other about how they do this, how they do that, how they prep and go about things. So it's a mixture of sort of playing it cool and talking about any nonsense, and then when you're training, sort of just looking over his shoulder and say, how do you do that, or how do you get better at that? And James loves training, and he, I think, relished the chance to sort of face so and so in the nets, or do some fielding practice with Chris Jordan or whatever. So it's right up his street. But it was a little bit nerve-wracking. But it's it's a great month.
Yeah, no, I can believe it. That was one thing I've never asked, actually, any of our Mars cricketers, and you sort of alluded to it a little bit. Is the travelling? Are you out of the suitcase? Do you hang your clothes up, or is it just suitcase on the floor and that'll do?
Do you know what? By the time you get to the middle and the end of the summer, we stay in some pretty good hotels, some not so good, but mostly pretty good. And it all just goes out the window by the time you get to sort of July, August, September. You just want a good bed, a decent shower, and it honestly doesn't matter. I used to really struggle going away with sleeping in different rooms, beds, temperatures, and now I'll crash on anything, because you sleep in that many hotels and you sort of wake up and you go, what city am I in today? And it's Birmingham or whatever, and it just goes out the window. So equally, it's sort of the start of the summer sort of starts quite tidy, and then by August and September, there's dirty whites all over the hotel floor. So a little bit of both.
I like it. I'm gonna go back to Kdog. I know there's a few questions come in, and I know he asked these quick fire questions, Joe, that are not quick fire, but we'll go back to Kdog on that. I've got a couple of questions to finish off. We've gone well past the hour, so Kdog, over to you with your quick fire questions.
Well, firstly, I'm very remiss. I wasn't looking at the YouTube comments. Daryl, your number one fan, Felix Jones, has made a few messages saying apparently that you always give him great content on a Wednesday. Don't know what that's all about. But he's actually made a couple of really good points, which for a young lad actually is really quite mature of him, which surprises me with Felix, because he's not very mature. But he says he believes the focus should be televising and promoting the county championship game instead of playing more games. That's actually quite a good point. If you have 12 games but it's more televised and it's more out there, is that better than having 16 games where there's nobody watching? That's a good point. He wants to know, so the question that he's asking is there a large and noticeable skill gap that you've seen between an international player and sort of a first-class cricketer and national a player that's come through the ranks in county cricket?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I mean, obviously, but probably not as big as you might think. And it's really little things like performing under pressure, skills just stand up a little bit more when they're tested. Maybe don't go through the sort of massive peaks and troughs that a lesser player might do. But it was quite reassuring in the 100 that it was probably less of a gap than you might think, and you're sort of closer than you think. Yeah, but obviously there's a big gap.
Yeah, because very often there are very big steps between levels. So I know there's very big steps between, for example, national counties and the first class game. Although having said that, in the showcase games this summer, a lot of the games between the first class counties, albeit the up and coming first class players rather than necessarily the sort of the dyed in the wool players that play every week, there were some really close games, weren't there? And actually some of the national counties did actually win. I think Berkshire beat a Middlesex side that actually had some strong players. So there are those gaps, I guess, is what I'm saying, but they're not insurmountable. And presumably someone like yourself. Sorry, go on. Yeah,
no, sorry to. So someone like Stuart Broad I've faced on a number of occasions in county cricket, and I don't think Stuart would necessarily disagree that he goes through the motions a little bit when he plays it for Notts. Stuart Broad's an unbelievable Test cricketer and one of the best bowlers in the world in the history of Test cricket, and he clearly goes up a notch when he plays Test cricket and has the gears to do that. So, but he's someone that from watching someone Stuart Broad, he needs, the motivation, the energy, the pressure to play at his best, and you don't see that as much playing for Notts. And there are bowlers that I fear more than Stuart Broad when he plays county cricket. But clearly he's got the ability to go up a gear. So
yeah, no, that's a really interesting point, because I think I've seen players even at our level, at county level, where if they're playing against better players, if you like, they raise their game to try and get to that level rather than go through the motions, as you say. So, right, quick fire questions, then back to the banana. Right, first one is, best bowler you've faced in first class cricket?
Good question. Obvious answer is Jimmy Anderson. Best spinner would be Simon Harmer at Essex. He's brilliant. He's had an amazing few years. It's probably those Test guys like your Broads, your Andersons that you play against, that you sort of know their run up. It's like an out of body experience, that when they're running in, you're like, I've seen this that many times watching on the TV. So yeah, I mean, I can't not say Anderson, can I?
No, you can't really. No. He's all right, isn't he? He'll do well one day when he gets.
He got me out, so he must be happy.
He must be pretty good. Yeah, absolutely. Best ground other than the Aegeus Bowl. Best ground that you've played on.
Best ground other than Lords, I'd say, because everyone would say Lords. Like Lords is sort of up here, and then the rest are sort of. I like Trent Bridge. Trent Bridge mixes old and new really well. And the Oval and Edgbaston are brilliant sort of T20 night games. They get brilliant crowds and they're amazing stadiums. But obviously, Lords, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think I know the answer to this one because it's the same every week. But I'll ask you anyway. Best place for teas and lunches.
Yeah, Lords by quite. It's not even teas. It's a freaking restaurant with a menu. I have to say that the Aegeus is a close second. It's vastly improved, and we're very lucky to get such good food at the Aegeus. So
I do remember Wes putting a photograph of his lunch on Facebook or Twitter at some point and showing off what he was having for dinner. So yeah, I'm with you on that as well. Yeah, I'm with you with Lords as well, to be honest. Right, Woodsy, that's 3 quick fire questions. One more. Is there any particular quirk or ritual that you have when you go up to bat? Put your left pad on first.
I like being on the left. Obviously, opening the batting, there's 2 of you walking out. I like being on the left, which is bizarre. Yeah,
that's definitely a quirk. That's okay. That's good. That's a new one. That Woodsy, that's my quick fire questions. They were quite quick, apart from the first one. So now back to you.
Very good, actually, Ken. I'm quite impressed with that. I'm going to come to Statto because Statto might have his own question that he might want to finish with. I don't know. He might. He's just looking blankly at me. Probably.
He's waiting in the pit lane,
He's
isn't
sick
he,
of
again?
me. He's sick of me. He's seen enough of me.
Wes, did you want to add anything before I go in my last couple of questions?
I don't think so. Other than thanks a lot for coming on, Joe. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, hopefully train well, go well over the winter, and yeah, see you see you again soon, probably.
Nice one.
Don't let Wes bowl at you because you're whacking miles.
Wes will get me out.
He wouldn't. He really wouldn't.
Great action, actually, Wes. Joe, as they've said, yeah, it's been brilliant. I've got a couple of questions. I mean, I always ask this, superpower, what would it be? I let you have a little think about that. But my sort of other question is, who are the jokers in the changing room? Who are the ones that have been, super gluing shoes down underneath the people's areas in the changing room? Are you one? Are you the joker in the pack?
I'm not one. No, I wish I was. We've got a couple. Everyone would say Chris Wood would be the obvious one. He's the life and soul, energy, never a dull moment. Ian Holland is very funny, but tells the worst dad jokes in the world, famously so. And yeah, that would be it. It was quite funny. We had an anonymous, going off tangent a little bit, we had an anonymous someone sent Ian Holland "Why You Suck at Golf" book, and it got left on his spot this year, and no one knew where it got sent from, and I think it turned out to be former Hampshire wicketkeeper Lewis McManus. But the boys enjoyed that because it came from an anonymous source, and it was it was like 100 reasons why you suck at golf, and we're a big golf changing room, so we enjoyed that a lot.
You like a round of golf, then, Joe? Yeah,
definitely.
Is that where you relax? Is that?
Yeah, no, it's a big part of. Yeah, it's a big part of. We've got a lot of golfers. We've got a golf WhatsApp group. We've got about a dozen of us. It's a big part of what we do in the off days. Yeah,
brilliant. And the superpower, if you had one, what would it be?
I would manipulate time, pause time, go back in time. Yeah, that would be pretty powerful, I think. Not look like a banana.
And not look like a banana. No, very, very sensible, I would suggest.
He looks more sensible tonight than he normally does. So
that is true. I don't normally dress up like this on a Thursday night. I hasten to add, but there's been several silly costumes over the nearly 50 episodes that we've done of this humble little show of ours. And we haven't used our catchphrase tonight because actually we've thrown it together quite well tonight, guys, haven't we?
That's because I wasn't on at the start. That's what it was.
Exactly right. That's what I wanted to say. But Joe, you've been fantastic. It's been really enthralling listening to your stories and being so frank with us and being so honest. So I thank you for that. And we'll be watching your future with interest. I hope it goes well. We wish you all the best for obviously season 2023 and beyond. Is there any winter playing for you, or is it just training?
No, I'm actually off to Adelaide in Australia next Sunday, Sunday, to play domestically. It's my third time out there, so I'm going back to familiar surroundings. Adelaide looked pretty good on the TV this morning, so I thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. So, 3 months down under. I can't wait for it.
Oh, brilliant! Good luck with that as well, and thank you for, like I say, for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Stay with us while we just close the program. We'll have a little chat offline if we may. Kdog, thank you again for being a good sport tonight, for coming on, not knowing who our master cricketer was. That's the first time we've done that for a little while, so it was good fun watching you sweat on that a little bit. So that was good.
I think Joe was sweating more than I was.
The only one sweating.
Very true. And of course, Statto Spearman, brilliant, professional as always, keeping us in check. Like I say, if you can donate to the Lord's Taverners, it's just down there. Look, justgiving.com/fundraising/ the-mast-cricketer. So if you can go, that'd be brilliant. Kdog definitely wants to say something.
£8,333 now.
It's not a bad effort. So all it remains is to say, actually, we have another Masked Cricketer on Monday. Would you believe it? 2 in a matter of days. So we have another Masked Cricketer on Monday. So please join us again at 8:30 normal channels, YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter. We've now got a subscribe button, Kdog, on YouTube, or we will have. So we might get those subscribers up if we can. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Really great night, and thanks again to our special guest tonight, Joe Weatherley. It's been absolutely brilliant. So thank you for that. And without sort of anything else to say, we'll bid you a good night, and we will see you on Monday. If I'm really struggling on the end here because I can't find my banner to finish off tonight's show. And here we go.
You don't just throw it together, do you?
Oh yes, we do. We'll see you on Monday. Good night.